But before I share with you the slides, I would like to make some observation. First of all, this project is a very noble project. Very noble project is about creating the what you call a very preferable future for the our Islamic Ummah. And
In
anyone
Malaysia, in Malaysia, Islamic
in
Ummah in Malaysia,
Malaysia, and
not
definitely,
not not the whole world.
yeah, definitely we started with small, but definitely our aim is to the world, inshallah. And inshallah, I am very, very optimistic about this one. And anyone is not with us, anyone doesn't believe in this kind of initiative, later they will regret, either in this dunya or in akhirah. Because in akhirah, inshallah, all of us, we will get the ajr for this one. And I am very proud to be part of this process. And inshallah, I will volunteer for this one. And I will try my best. Anything you ask me or anything I can do with the best for this, for the success of this project. The second thing I want to say is that this discussion on future studies should be continuous. It's not just organizing a workshop or a seminar and then after that, preparing the blueprint for the project. No, this kind of thing should be with us, until the 27/7, because we have to remind ourselves, and then we have to create a kind of system of belief in these future studies. This system, it works that way. If there is no belief, this one doesn't work. And that's why in most of the Islamic countries, unfortunately, we have many blueprints, we have many good strategies, but because there is no belief in the change, so that's why it is just go that way. So I would like to share with you the slides. Let me.
You can. You can. Okay.
Okay. Can you see the slide now?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
So the title of my presentation is Future Studies Methodologies, What Works? What works in line for this vision, the Vision 2077, the new Hijrah? Okay, before my story started thinking about the future when I was at the age of 15. I read the book written by Sayyid Qutb. The future, Islam is the religion of the future. Al-Mustaqbal lil-Islam. That time I read that book in Arabic. And of course, when I came here after learning English, I read the book in English. And actually,
المستقبل لهذا الدين.
Yeah, المستقبل لهذا الدين. That book actually changed my life. The first time, of course, when I read, I didn't understand, because that time I'm a Kurdish. I didn't understand Arabic very well. So I read this book few times, then I understood what he is talking about. Then after that, it led me to read his book, another book, Al-Ma'alim. And then after that, I start to, under the advice of one scholar, he advised me, he said, if you want to know about the future of Islam, you have to read his Fi Dhilal. And then I bought a copy of Fi Dhilal of Al-Quran. And that book, that Fi Dhilal of Quran, until now is with me in my office. So it's very inspirational. And then it was my story, why I'm telling you this one, it was not a deliberate, thinking about the future. But this one was with me until 2008, when I came across the book written by George Friedman. He is the CEO of Stratfor. Then that book was also kind of inspirational for me. The book is talking about next 100 years, what is going to happen. Basically, it's a kind of just forecasting. It's not about creating the future. It's a forecasting and what's going to happen. So for that reason, I reviewed that book and I published it in Intellectual Discourse. The book review is available in 2000. It was published in 2009. Then I continue, of course, my study. But all started in 2015 when I was part of the ISS Malaysia, the think tank. So when I was interviewed by Tansri Rastam Isa, he was the CEO of the executive director for the ISS. So he interviewed me and he asked me what I can contribute to the ISS. Then I told him that I know about the future studies. Then he said, okay, by the way, we got invitation from ASM, Academy Science Malaysia. So I will take you for that project. So can you join them and I will send you as our representative. Then that was actually, it was a very great honor for me to be part of this project. It was a series of projects, a series of workshops. So I attended all of them. So the first one was conducted by Sohail himself. This is Sohail in my right hand, and then this is his wife. Both of them are, they were facilitator. But of course, the first workshop was 3 days, was basically his methodologies. Later, of course, this Dr. Professor Mazlan Osman, the ASM director, she introduced another methodologies. And then, of course, all this while we were by our own. Then the report is available. It took 2 years to be completed. In that, I presented the paper, mega project, geopolitical forecasting for Malaysia. So anyway, and then of course, this is also part of this ASM project. That is, they invited Muhammad Yunus, this guy for Grameen Bank, and also this is our former Prime Minister Abdullah Badawi in IKIM. That workshop was about how we can create a preferable future in terms of national unity and integration, and also part of this future thinking. Also, I created this think tank meeting in ISS. I managed to invite many ministers, and bring them on this discussion table. Even there was, the opposition parties, interestingly. And then we brought them, they discussed about the national unity, how we can go about national unity and national integration. And basically, this is my experience about the future studies. And I totally, of course, agree with Prof. Tansri Kamal about we can take benefit from these methodologies. We can Islamize it. But of course, I have one observation about this one. This future studies methodologies is very flexible. It is not, there is no a kind of, we can use it for many purposes. We can, the Western countries, they can use for their own secular agenda, but also we Islamic, we can use it for our Islamic agenda. It's very flexible. It's just like Malay language, they say, is macam geta, it can be, extended. It's very flexible. So in my presentation, there will be, I will give you some background, and then there will be some literature review. Of course, I will not be talking about this literature. Just I will show you what is available there about the future studies. Then after that, I'll be going these futures, basic futures questions. When we embark any future studies project, there are some few questions is very important to be answered, and those questions actually asked by futurists. And then, according to Sohail, he combined many methodologies that have been presented or been invented by many futurists. So he created these 6 pillars of future studies. So in order to have a very good trajectory or transformational plan, we have to go stage by stage. So there are 6 pillars. When we follow these 6 pillars, and then in the end, we will be having a very good trajectory plan for this project. So, okay, what is future studies? Future studies is the systematic study of possible, probable, and preferable future. In the end, of course, we planning to create future studies. Here, we are not going to forecast. There is a misunderstanding about or confusion about future studies. That people think that The other day I met someone, and then he told me, "Oh, you are futurists. Come, let us. What is going to happen to COVID-19?" I mean, there is a confusion about these future studies. They think that futurist is the one who just predict. No, prediction is part of it, but it is not the whole story. So nowadays, unfortunately, like Tansri, he mentioned in his proposal, we are lagging behind the Western countries. Western countries, a long time ago, they started these studies. They have the academic program, they have the think tanks, they think about the future, they create a future, and we don't have any centers. So far, I look at many Muslim countries, I don't find any centers about the future studies. The only Muslim country which they have a kind of think tanks is Iran, which is under the University of Imam Khomeini. They have, and I think, the College of Engineering, and also University of Asfahan. But these two centers is not function well. And Malaysia, of course, also by inviting these futurists like USM. USM also, by the way, there are some people are part of the Millennium Project. Millennium Project, which is very good, is a kind of future initiatives at the world stage. But it is also is not functioning well. For that reason, it's the right time for the university actually to embark on such futurist program. And Alhamdulillah, when I joined the university, I proposed to Prof. Shukran, the Dean of IRKHS, to open a center for future studies. And all this while, the proposal was with him. And Alhamdulillah, just recently, he approved my proposal. So now the center is, the name of the center, Future Studies Unit. Future Studies Unit. So this, the aim of this, of course, for this unit is to organize workshops, to create an awareness, and then to enhance the competency of the academic for future studies, and then handling many other future studies projects. And of course, it is just, we are in the beginning. We are in the process of creating a website for it. And I already formed a committee for that. Inshallah, I mean, with your dua, it can be a very good center under the university as well. And also, I proposed also an academic program to be offered under the Department of Fundamental Studies, this master program in future studies. So still in the process with the committee, I'm not sure what is going to happen, because there is some technical problem, like you have to do market survey, you have to go through all this process. Okay. To understand all these future studies, overall, there are a variety of exemplary methods. So we can see that some methods is, the function is predictive, which is based on the empirical social sciences. Some method of future studies is interpretive. They are just explaining or interpreting what is the image of the future. And then the third one is the Sohail's approach, which is critical, asking the questions who benefits, for example, by the realization of the particular type of futures. And then we have the scenarios. This is scenarios is very important, and I will be explaining after this, inshallah, one by one. So you can see possible, preferable, and probable future. Okay, you have to open the window and see what is going on. You see, the Sweden, they had the Ministry of the Future. That ministry was in charge of planning for 2050 to 2100, even 1000 years. And then UAE created this Ministry of Happiness. The function is the same. This quotation, I got it from the book Lessons for the 21st Century by Yuval Noah Harari, the author of Homo Deus and Homo Sapiens. Despite my disagreement with him, and also this guy, by the way, he married someone, he's a gay. But anyway, he has written this quotation. He said, if the future of humanity is decided in your absence because you are too busy feeding and clothing your kids, you and they will not be exempt from the consequences. This is very unfair, but who said history was fair? So he is basically in that book, he argues that it's up to you. I mean, you want to be part of the future studies discussion or not. If you excuse yourself, say I'm very busy by reading the assignment or by what do you call, I have many students. So later, we should not complain. We should not complain of the consequences. So that's why the future study is a kind of belief. We have to create a belief in the university. If you want to achieve a very good, what do you call, this plan, this project of Tansari, we have to create a belief inside the university. This belief should be shared by the students, by the staffs, by the admin, and by the, what do you call, lecturers as well, academy. So all these three, and also even the cleaners as well. The cleaners also, they should be part of this one. They should not be exempt from this process. They should know there is a discussions about the creating future. So it's not only academic come together and discuss about that. Because we are creating the future, they should be part of it. And these future studies will enable you to see the whole picture, not only one part. Now I can visualize we are here, we are at the top, and then what is next, we don't know, whether we are going to fall down or not. All right, so these are some literatures on the future. You see, the anticipation was written in 1902. He talking about the year 2000, and actually most of the things that he talks about is available in PDF. You can download. It's happening nowadays. Or the future shock, for example. It was written in 1970. He talks about the year 2000. And in most of the things that he talks about is happening nowadays. And Makio Kako, he is a scientist. Of course, this futurist doesn't mean if you read this book, I mean, you don't have, not necessary to believe in whatever he says. I have written a review for his book, The Future Mind, because, it's purely, he talks about the science. He neglects all the other things, like spirituality, for example. Okay. And then we have the Arthur Clarke, for example, Profile of the Future. And then these are some other work as well. The Future File, Questioning the Future. This is Sohail's book, Asia in 2050, or The World in 2050. And then these are some other books. This book, The Open, is quite interesting. Also, he talks about what is going to happen. It's not the title is not future, but the content, when you read it, is all about the future, what's going to happen. And all right, these are some emerging issues. Of course, we have to be aware of it. I will not spend time here. You see, all these things is happening nowadays. Just recently, this mother, she met the daughter visually. And you see, this Coca-Cola, the future actually is changing. This is very interesting. If you view any interview which was conducted in 1980, you can see the person who is being interviewed, he's smoking, holding the cigarette, because that time there is no link between smoking and health problem. Now, after the establishment of this one, now will be very unethical if someone you interview and then smoking. Same goes now. For example, we are drinking the Coca-Cola, but already there is a very well established fact about that. Maybe in the near future will be like a cigarette. So just how we can see the future, what's going to happen. All right. So this is the Boya Life. This is a group of companies. They announced that they are ready to create or clone the human being. And this is The Economist published an article in 2015, editing humanity. We unfortunately, this is what I try to show you, is that we are the Muslims. We are not aware of all these things. Maybe there is awareness, but not in a wider context. Um, all right. Okay, let me go to the. Okay. This is a forum we conducted in ISS Malaysia. That was about the population in Malaysia. That was also part of the Future Things initiatives, and for that reason, I invited some scholars. So they come up with the analysis that in 2050 Malaysia are going to be the aging population. So this is the 2 workshops organized. Okay. Let me directly go to the questions. Okay, the question 1. What do you think the future will be like? What is your prediction? More and more progress and wealth for the view, or dramatic technological revolution? All these questions is with us. We are not sure what is going to happen, but the question is to ask ourselves, what will the future will be look like? And then, which future are you afraid of? Random acts of violence, environmental disaster, or do you think that we can transform this to a desired future, for example? Why or why not? Can we change this? Okay, what are the hidden assumptions of our assumptions or our predicted future? There are some assumptions, of course, we have taken it for granted, like, for example, nature or technology or culture. And then, what are some alternatives? Sometimes, in most of the cases, we don't have the alternative. Like like those countries in the Soviet Union, the Central Asian countries like Dagestan, Afghan, all these countries, after the collapse of the Soviet Union, they don't have the other alternative. The only thing they used to eat was communist regime. So after the collapse, they don't have the alternative. They don't have anything in place. Like also some other Middle Eastern countries, like, for example, Iraq, my country. After the collapse of the Saddam, we don't have alternative. What is going to replace? So that's why, instead of having one Saddam, now we have how many Saddam? Around 20, I don't know, hundreds or thousands of. So, and then, what is our preferred future? Which future do we wish to become a reality for ourselves personally, or for IIUM, Malaysia, or the Islamic Ummah? And then finally, how might we get there? What steps can we take to move in toward our preferred future? So these are basically a very important questions we have to ask before embarking on this project. And that exercise actually can be done in a workshop setting. Inshallah, if the centuries agree, I propose to have a workshop. This is a kind of casual discussion. We can ask all these questions and ask the participants and let them answer. Let them answer very casually. It's not so. Okay. The first methodology, which Sohail suggesting to start with, is a shared history methodology. History is very important, and I realize, some people, of course, some futurists, they ignore this part, or they don't pay attention fully to this part. This part is very important because shared history will help us to map the past. And then the whole purpose of this exercise is to demonstrate what has changed over the past decades and what has remained stable. And then we have to highlight the macro, meso, micro, macro at the bigger level, the global level, and also meso, the change in law, and also micro, the personal story. This personal story also is important. I can give you one example. Like, for example, in my case, all of us have the story with IIUM. I have my own personal story with IIUM. Maybe nobody knows about it, but I know I have some personal stories about it, which I know where is the, what do you call, where is the wrong, where is the good things about IIUM, where is the, so this is my personal story. I'm also aware, very sure everyone here, they know they, and they have a personal story with the place. So this is also important. We have to map it out during the workshop. So the first step, what to do, the participants, of course, after grouping all the participants, despite having all these clusters, we have all these clusters. So the cluster should not work in silo. So during the workshop, the cluster should be grouped with other cluster as well. So there is a mixture of many people. So for example, the IT or the IT cluster, for example, there must be people from the social science, from law, from economy. Same goes to economy, same goes to the law. So, you know, to get the whole picture when they do the exercise. So the first step is, in turn, walk over the long piece of paper, place on the wall, and write significant events and trends that can, I mean, the where we came from, you know, and then that can be, that events can be global, like technological change, social change, or can be meso, the laws in the organization. And the step two, we reflect on this mapping. What are the continuities? What are the discontinuities? This is one of the example. If you look at the communication, this is how it started. You see, this is, and then we have this one, and then we have this one, and then definitely maybe in the future, this is how are we going to organize ourselves. Hologram. Okay. After the share history, we go to the future triangle. Future triangle also is quite very important. Here we are looking at the future in three parts. So we are here, we have the pushes of the future, which is the pushes of the present. And then we have the weight, the obstacles, the hindrance that preventing us going forward. And then we have the pull of the future. And of course, when we look at the pull of the future, there are some images. I mean, each one of us, even though we are a Muslim, for example, we should have some view, I mean, a unity of worldview. But of course, we have this type of thinking. Like some of us may be very evolutionary. We feel like we feel in progress, you know, more technology, and also man as the center of the world. This is also nowadays there is a movement uh, led by some futurists, like for example Steven Pinker is one of them. You know, he talking about, oh, the man is the center of the whole world, and then we have achieved many things, the enlightened man. And then we have some people believes in the collapse, that man has reached his limits, and indeed exhausted the whole resources, and that's why we have terrorism, vandalism, tribalism, and then in the eventually we are going to have nuclear war, climate disaster, and then of course the world is garden, culture, it's flowers we need. So all this image of the future, how we can place ourselves into this, where we are in here. And then, of course, when we talk about this pulling of the future, we talk about pushes of the present. There are quantitative drivers and trends that are changing the future, like aging population. Is something, is a fact, is going to happen. So how we can change that one, so that we cannot be. I mean, this is the Malaysia in 2050, according to the statistic, according to the data, available data, telling us Malaysia is going to be aging population, because the young people, they don't marry, and even if they marry, they don't go for kids, and then the old people live longer because of the improvement in healthcare system. So all this process telling us Malaysia is going to be aging population. So how we can prevent that future to happen, because aging population there is a problem. We will be facing like a country like Japan, for example. Now they already opened their country to the people, the foreigners. By the way, you know, one of our alumni from Sudan, he got Japanese citizenship. He was a graduate from computer engineering, I think, and now he is leading a company making a robot, and he got Japanese citizenship. He is from Sudan. So, you know, it's quite very, you know, when he find difficulty and trouble when he traveled to US, they say, how come the Japanese, I mean, your look is different. So, because, you know, Japanese, they have no choice. They are, what do you call, they are aging. Who is going to replace, who is going to run the industry? And same goes to Europe as well. And then the weight, there are barriers to change we wish to see. So there are, of course, the moment you try to make some changes, there will be some obstacles. People come on your way, of course. Definitely, you know, this project is not that easy there will be obstacles. Okay, after mapping the past, mapping the present, and then we got here, future landscape. Here we are auditing ourselves. What are you going to give to yourself? An A plus or A minus or B plus? Or basically we are given, so here, are we living in the jungle? Or what do you call day-to-day survival? We are in a survival business? Or are we living in a chess set, for example? The strategy help us to enhance our effectiveness. Or mountaintops. We can see the whole pictures. Now we are really able to move the organization forward. Or the star. The star is the vision. We are already at the star, and we can see the whole picture, and then we are already achieve a very highest level of what do you call preferable future. So we have to put ourselves in this landscape in order to start to any things. And then after doing all this exercise, then we move to the second level, which is anticipation. So the first one is mapping. The second one is anticipation. Here we have two methodologies. One of them is emerging issues analysis. Emerging issues analysis, we look at the seeds of the problem, of seeds of the change. Then we look at the trends and the problem. So how to know how to, what do you call, to investigate in a workshop setting, for example, or in any personal setting, how we can know what is emerging issues. Okay, emerging issues, first of all, should be provocative, controversial, and perhaps there is no agreement on it, and also is very ridiculous. Usually, the visionary people, they can see. Visionary people, when they talk about the emerging issues, people are laughing at them. And then, just like the allegory of the caves of Plato. So the visionary man, he broke the chains and he went outside, and then he saw the wall outside of the cave. And then after that, he come back, and then he told the people, okay, this is just a shadow that we saw. Then, of course, they don't agree, and then they don't follow. And perhaps they kill him. So same goes here. So the emerging issues, in most of the cases, visionary people can see. And then, but if there is an immediate agreement, it's not the emerging issues, it's a trend. And then we can use the S-curve, can be divided into three phases, okay? So at the emerging level, what is that? There is no little or quantitative data. Issues has low likelihood of occurring. If issues mature, then impact will be very dramatic. And then great ability to influence directions of the issue. So maybe we can, this COVID-19. I mean, if let's say this COVID-19, if let's say we have watched this Contagion, the movie, if a visionary man telling us, okay, there will be a lockdown in 2000 something, and then of course that time there is no quantitative data, and we could have prepared for it. But because, we are unable to identify where is emerging issues, I will come back to this point, how we can do it. And then the trend level, there is quantitative data, but often contested. So you can see, you know, data is coming out. Some people believe in it. Some people say that no. And then there is a medium likelihood of fully becoming a problem. And trend is evident to research unit only. And then after that, when the problem happened, then the issues already emerge. Then there is a strong emotions from everywhere. And then there is, of course, great deal of quantitative data. There is agreement on the data. And policy institute usually, they, because become a problem, and then that time the modern day of government have to tackle that issue. If not, they are out of the, they will be they will be out of the office. So how to find the emerging issues? Of course, through the scanning. Scanning, you know, can be in many ways, you know, reading the whole things, reading, you know, like the movie. I mean, it can be also one of the scanning. We can look at the movies. What are the Hollywood, for example, are busy with? Now there are many movies that coming out. It tell us some story. Actually, if we have a visionary scholars, they can tell us, you know, something about that. And then the storytelling. There are many fictional stories. There are. It's not, of course, about fully to believe, no, but to give you what is the. This is the scanning is important, and then extrapolation, and then dialectical, and then the grand theory of the like Ibn Khaldun. I will come back to this Ibn Khaldun's theory later, and then the alternative futures and bellwethers, because the future of some countries is become our history. So we can, you know, based on there are something going on in, let's say, in the Western countries, and then we are still tagged with something. So for that reason, we can, you know, predict where are the emerging issues, you know, by the bellwethers. Okay. And then after that, we go to the future wheel. Future wheel was developed by Jerome Glenn. And this guy, he is the executive director of the Millennium Project. Millennium Project, so when they started, they look at the country's development and then the future of that particular countries, they collect the data. So, and what are the emerging issues? So in the workshop setting, after identifying the emerging issues, what we do, we create this future wheel. Future wheel, we bring issues by issues. So we have already identified, let's say 10, 20, or it's up to us how we can identify. And then one by one, we are creating a future wheel. So we write down the issue at the center, and then we are starting asking questions, what if questions, you know, the how what is the, what do you call, the first, the second, and the third order of implication of that issue. So if, let's say, we have identified one issue, let's say on the Saturday, January 1st, January 2022, IIUM community wake up and then all of them are flying. Okay. And then we write down this is a problem or something, some issues. So what will be the implications for that if everybody flying? What will be? Of course, the second things they do, nobody will work. And nobody conduct a class because, you know, we are enjoying the flying. You know, this is just example for that. All right, this is how it is done in the workshop setting. So identify the issues. Of course, all of us will join, and then all of us will contribute. And then that's why the group should be mixed from everywhere, from law, from economic, from IT, from social sciences, so that, you know, they can see the whole picture, because this future studies is interdisciplinary by nature. So the IT people cannot work in silo. The social science, they cannot work in silo. They have to be the view from every angle. But later, of course, we can go back to the cluster the way it is done. So this is the, you know, like, for example, we can, what if IIUM is the world's leading educational center? What if IIUM? So what will be the implication? So one by one, we can do it. All right. And then after that, we go to the second level, which is the third level, which is timing. Timing is quite difficult. Here we need the expert of the philosophers. Professor Hisham, for example, we can bring him here, and then other philosophers in the IIUM to tell us how we can create a framework from this grand theorian or the like sorry uh, like Ibn Khaldun, for example, like Auguste Comte, for example, or Herbert Spencer and Petrim Sorokin and Sarkar. So there are many other grand theorists. We have to bring them and we create a framework. Just the same way, like we are creating. When I do my PhD, for example, I use the theory and that theory guiding me in my research. So here, of course, we need to bring all these theorists, and then we put it in this perspective. And this is the difference between Sohail and other futurists. Other futurists, they don't bring the theory of all these people. They believe that they just think about the future and creating the future. But to Sohail, he believes that in order to transform, you have to take into consideration the idea of all these people. So because this people is creating a kind of worldview. I mean, do we believe that, for example, like the realist believes that human being, like Thomas Hobbes, he said that the human being is a brutish, lazy, and evil, and then end is justifying the means, or do you believe in the human progress? Human can there is good and bad, and Islamically, إنا هديناه النجدين إما كافرا وإما شكورا الآية the verse. Okay, Johann Galton he defined this one as a search for patterns, stages of history through the time, history of social system, searching for regularities, the causes of change through the time. Frankly speaking, I am not expert here, so here we need, as I mentioned, we need the help of philosophers to tell us how we can include Ibn Khaldun's theory here. So this is one of the way to Islamize our thinking. Not only Ibn Khaldun or Al-Farabi, for example. The Ara Ahl al-Madina al-Fadila, his book, is very fantastic. How we can bring all his theories and then we can create a kind of framework, contextualizing it, and then helping us in predicting or creating a preferable future. So just a small exercise, like Ibn Khaldun, he said that the future is cyclical. There are ups and downs. Those at the top will one day find themselves at the bottom. Because they are on the top, they are unable to adapt and adjust as the world changes. Their success was based on mastery of yesterday's condition. So few are able to reinvent their basic values. And then example of how it works. So from Ibn Khaldun, we can use three ideas. So we have Asabiya, unity gained through collective struggle, the rise and the fall of the dynasties, and then the theory of four generations, from creativity to imitation, to blind following, and to indolence. So I believe that, we are actually in maybe blind following stage. So our questions then become, who are the new Bedouins? Which collectivities are building unity, are ready to sacrifice? Are we ready to sacrifice or not? And then which ones have the struggle and great deal and still retain the warrior spirits? How long we can stay in power? One answer to this, my questions is, to my answers, this is my belief, because looking at the Islamic countries, I believe that the new warriors or new Bedouins are Malay or Malaysians, because looking at all these Islamic countries, they are all in a very bad shape, in a very bad problem. And looking at the societies, they are busy with themselves, killing each other. Malaysia is quite doing well. So if, let's say, there is a good plan, good strategy for the future, I am very sure Malaysia can be the new Bedouins, inshallah. And then moving away from the nation state analysis, also we can, the universities also can play a part. Environmental movement, for example, and then the spiritual movements. All these people can play a part in creating a preferable future by bringing the theory of Ibn Khaldun. And then, of course, these are the Auguste Comte. They believe that the future is linear. Okay, the future is linear stages, progress ahead by hard work, we will realize the good future. Also, yeah, it makes sense. And we have Sorokins. I quite do not understand his theory, so I will skip. And also Sarkar. Sarkar here, Sohail, he bringing the action. He create a drama during the workshop. So some of us, we were a warrior, for example. Some of us were a worker. Some of us a leader. And then it was interestingly, during the workshop, someone was playing the prime minister at that time, the former prime minister, Najib. He was the prime minister, and then there was his cabinet, for example. And then someone was the executive director for Petronas. And then the workers, for example. I play academic. I was the lecturer at the university, and some of us were a lecturer, because there was representative from everywhere. There was almost 300 people attending that workshop, and from everywhere, from Petronas, from universities, from think tanks, so it was very interesting, even from the government, from Malaysian Royal Police. And then we created a kind of scenario building. So we played this Sarkar. So it was a kind of drama, how we can looking at the social cycle or create a preferable future and the scenario. Okay, going back to now we are in the stage of the Sohail's approach. So Sohail's approach here is deepening. This stage is deepening the future. So here, before we start looking at or using the CLA, causal layer analysis, he has some foundational concepts. He said that, he explains, of course, all these foundational concepts in order to understand what is the future or how we can go about. We have to understand all these foundational concepts. The first one is the used future. You have to ask yourself, are you using the used future, the expired future, for example, at the personal level, at the institutional level? Unfortunately, in most of the cases, we are using a used future. For example, at the personal level, I always I want to become like, for example, Tansri Prof. Kamal Hassan. I want to follow him. But the question is why? Maybe I have some other traits Prof don't have. Why I don't invest my, character, so that, I can, we have already Prof or Tansri Kamal Hassan. So let me be myself. So at the national level, for example, we always, try to emulate the Western countries. Or we want to build a big cities, mega cities, or we have more. And then what happens in the end? It will lead to the second one, which is disown future. Because that disown future, sometimes we progress and then we reach the maximum and then we disown that future. Just like we can see, many CEO of companies, they become old, then they start to do exercise, because at the old age, they realize that actually they work very hard, but what's at the expense of their health, at the expense of the family. They don't spend much time with their family. And then, but the question is why you cannot create a future even without the, you can create a preferable future without at the expense of other things as well. And then you see in the case of youth future, the Western countries nowadays, they go back for localities. They believe that village life is very good, and then they have many investments in the villages, and then people go back to because they believe that the modern life, the urbanization, this one creating many problem or health problem. But we still stuck. We still want to achieve their future while is abandoned there already. And then same goes, the universities, for example. We are busy with rankings issues, ranking. We have to make a publication in ISI journals, all these one. Of course, it's good to publish, but what I mean, we are still busy with this one. But in the end, it's already abandoned in the Western countries. If you go to any Western countries, universities, people, I don't see, I visited Germany, for example, some German universities, lecturers are not busy with the ranking things. They don't care as long as they publish, even in German language, in any local language. They don't care about those things. What they care is how to serve this one. But we still are trying to emulate. And then the alignment. Sometimes, we have a very good future, but we are not aligning our daily activities to that future. So we have a very good vision, a very good future, but our actions, our activities leading us towards something else. And then the models of social change. Do you believe that we can change the society, or do you believe that we just leave it to qadar, leave it to qadar, let's qadar take care of it, or future, let the future take care of itself. But it is not the case, because Allah says in the Quran, إن الله لا يغير ما بقوم حتى يغيروا ما بأنفسهم. And the uses of future. Do you believe that the future studies can help you to create a preferable future or not? This is him. All right. This is, we are busy with this one, creating more highways. That's why we have, Duke Highway, we have Dash Highway, we have many other highways on the way. And then the Western countries, this is how they did now. The Prime Minister is actually cycling. The other day I saw the Prime Minister of Austria, he's cycling. He go to office by cycling. Of course, in Malaysia, the weather is hot, maybe it's impossible, but we are still creating more cars, more highways. So in the next let's say next 200 or 300, next 2 or 3 years, what is going to happen? When I went to Shah Alam, I was staying in Shah Alam in 2015. When I moved there was a giant beside my house. What happens after that? There's MSU, Management Science University. Beside MSU, they built Tesco, and then after that Tesco, just 5 minutes walking distance, they develop Tesco Extra. They have cut all these trees, and then they build this Tesco Extra. And now they destroy that Tesco near to the MSU. They have created a very big Aeon mall. And then I heard that I don't know what's going to happen, in those areas. They have cut all these beautiful trees, flowers. So by building all these buildings, how you can see the future of in Malaysia in the next 2 or 3 years? We are living in a very big building, maybe in the future. CLA. So CLA, we tackle all these issues, and then we try to analyze it according to these stages. So at the first stage, we look at the litany level. Litany level is the official description of the issue. Sometimes, the media supporting it, and then we can see all this, everything, talking about this issue and then supporting it. And then when we looking at the system causes, I will give you some example later. Then here we are talking about economical causes or political causes, and then if you go deeper to worldview, then you can see, if let's say there are some visionary people looking at the issue from the worldview perspective, then you can see their views, they can see the issues from different perspectives. And that's why the mainstream media do not talk about those people. And then metaphors, the myth. Sometimes we have created a myth, and then we can change actually those stories. So at the litany level is visible, and also disconnected news. system, social, technological, economic, and then discourse, stakeholders, ideologies, worldviews, myth, stories, legends, and myth of trauma. Okay, how it is done? This is, first of all, this methodology in solving the problem is very good in the sense that it will give us a multiple perspective to create a map of a position at all four layers. So it will deconstruct the present and then deconstruct the preferred future, and reconstruct the preferred future, and also ensures that the new narratives has accompanying new measures. Here, you might face a problem when you try to make change. When you, let's say, when we are in a worldview, of course, you will face a problem by the people here, this level. When you talk about these causes, still there is no much problem. But if you try to talk about worldview, and also, of course, you go to the change in the story, wow, and then that's a very big issue. And then you might be, what do you call, people might come after you by hammers, because you are trying to change the stories. You are trying to change the worldview. These people already established a kind of interest. This is in their interest to put it that way. Take, for example, the COVID-19, for example. If you change the stories in somehow, maybe some people will be after you, or pharmaceutical companies will be after you. It's not about, it's not about the conspiracy theory. It's about digging deeper into the problem. Let's say, if you look at the KL traffic pollution, this is just a small exercise yesterday I did. So when we look at the traffic pollution, so there is a news about waiting time, and then the solution is hire consultants and building more roads, and then making it more efficient, for example. And then when we go to the system causes, then urbanization, and then we are talking about the development, the economic growth, and then the solution will be develop integrated transport planning, expand travel choices, for example. Now, this is what's happening here in Kuala Lumpur. We have many choices. We have LRT, MRT, all these RT things. And then the actors, who are the actors? The corporations, the giant corporations, the people who make money, and also international agencies. But when we go to the world view, then here we try to talk about the big city outlook, how we can see the city. The solution, transform development model. We have to change the model, whether are we using the youth future or not. And then deep decentralization, focus on agriculture, dignity of the worker, for example. The actors, who are the actors? Here, the public intellectuals, social movements, universities. And then after that, the story level, we are always believe that the causes here, we believe that West is the best. Orang Putih is the best. That's why we always, when we hire them, we pay them more. We pay them more. I was in Iraq for one semester, teaching at the Human Development University. So there was one guy from US. This guy, we were teaching the same course. But this guy was teaching only one section. I was teaching 3 sections. And then this guy having a master, I'm having a PhD. This guy asked me, he asked me, I asked him where he stay. He say he's living in he stay in a very nice place called German Village. This German Village in Sulaimania is very expensive place. The rental of a house is 1,500, 2,000 US dollar. So I told him, it's very expensive for me, because he suggested to me to stay with him. He said there is a very nice unit too. Then I told him it's very expensive. He said, why? The university do not pay to you for you? I say no. Then I realized that the university actually paying for him the rental, and then his salary was much higher than me. So this is, when you look at the story, what this guy got, what kind of talent he got, so that he been paid that much than me, So we have to change the stories. This is not they are not the best. We have to create our own indigenous story. We are the best also. Okay? And then how to do that? We have to create the charismatic leaders. Who are the leaders? The artists, the philosophers. We don't have the philosophers. And I'm very glad, nowadays, inshallah, very soon, our Department of Fundamental and Interdisciplinary Studies ask, asking us to form a committee for the degree in philosophy, which is very important. We need to have a philosophers because we are not. If you don't have the philosophers, who is going to create a worldview or changing the stories? Okay, and then the new system is question: what are some practices that we can engage in support the new stories? And then how will you measure your new story? How will you know you are living in a new story? This is just two questions is important. And then after that, of course, we will create this kind of scenarios. This is quite this some exercise we did during the workshop about Malaysian universities. Okay. Now we go to the last part, which is very important. Of course, I will skip talking about visioning and also the next steps because the backcasting by itself is telling all these stories. Backcasting in the future studies initiative is very important. You cannot ignore it. You cannot say, "Oh, we don't have time for it," or "It's very difficult." If you don't have the backcasting, it look like you haven't done anything. Backcasting is the last stage, will help you to wrap up everything and to see the whole things. Because after creating the preferable future, you need to know how you can, how you can create it. The backcasting was developed by some futurists, of course. I mean, it's not only one. There are many, like this lady, Professor Elise Boulding. She was from Norwegian. She was a peace activist, and also Jim Data. These two of them are very, very good at backcasting. So backcasting is a reverse planning. The future is accepted as having already occurred, and the challenge is to remember the past. The outcome of the successful backcast is an increased organizational agency and effectiveness. So we cannot skip this process. How it is done? So the future is remembered. And then events and trends are posited. So what are the things that created those future? And then this can be broken down in a variety of ways. So we can create a transformative events, what others in the business are doing. We have to look at, because you cannot just talk about the future without looking at other people, what they are doing. What is, who are the people also in this future making initiative? And then this done in 10 to 100 years time span. And then while imagination is important, this exercise, we did it in a workshop, was conducted in Port Dickson. That time, of course, Sohail was not there. It was just all of us. So it was the facilitator asking us to close our eyes. So we close our eyes for 10 to 20 minutes. And then imagine what are the good things happen which led us to that future. We already have the future. We already created the future. That was the last workshop. And then we imagine what are the things that happen which created that future. Imagination. And then after that, of course, the workshop started. So how the desire, this one will, this backcasting is having the empowerment functionality to the individual. It will empower the individuals, those who join this workshop. Why? Because during the backcasting session, everybody will be given or will be in charge of some events or projects. Let's say someone present a project. Oh, I believe that this project is very important, good for realization of this future. So, okay, if that is the case, can you handle this project? And then that person will be in charge of that project. So same goes to others. So there will be many projects, many events we create, and then people will be, we will distribute all these responsibilities during the backcasting. So this is some exercise. Of course, this is done by Sohail himself during the workshop. This is how it is done. Okay, yeah. Okay, okay. The paradigm questions. This is also some questions which is important. We have to, maybe sometimes we believe that it is impossible. And then what could make it possible? Okay, if it is impossible, the question is how we can make it possible. And then what can you do to make it possible? Each one of us have to play a part. What support do you need? And then this guy, he said that only those who are able to see the invisible are able to do the impossible. The grass is greener where you water it. All right. So that's the whole things. I hopefully, I was too fast. Hopefully, because this kind of what do you call this kind of presentation meant to be in a workshop, not in a seminar. And practically, when we mention about the shared history, straight away, all participants can do the exercise. Otherwise, it is not meant to be in a seminar kind of things. But Jazakumullahu khaira, this is the whole thing I wanted to share with you. So I welcome your comment or any suggestions, any questions. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Dr. Abdul Wahid, for this presentation. So now I'd like to open the Q&A session. So we have about 10 minutes. So is there anybody who would like to ask? Or you can write in the chatting, or you can unmute your mic and ask whatever questions or comment or feedback.
Assalamu alaikum.
Salam.
Thank you very much, Dr. Abdul Wahid. You mentioned about workshops. If we were to conduct workshops, here in IIUM, how many workshops do you think we need to be able to cover the important things that you mentioned today?
Yeah. Okay. The project, because this project is very big project. We are talking about not only the university, we are talking about Islamic Ummah in Malaysia. All right. So it's a big project. It's similar to this Envision in Malaysia in 2050. It's similar to this one, but we are talking about the Muslim Malaysians, Islamic Ummah, especially in Malaysia and also the surrounding Malaysia. So for that reason, of course, we need a series of workshops. All this work cannot be accomplished in one workshop setting. And also it needs a kind of research also, because when people come to the workshop, maybe they have the information, but they need to go and deeper, looking at the events, looking at the history, for example, and then and also the backcasting. Backcasting by itself needs one workshop by itself, because it's not easy, it's very difficult to bring all these events, all these projects, and create a scenario building in 1 day or 2 days. So the Academy Science Malaysia started in 2015. It was ended in 2017, and it was launched in 2017. So it took 2 years. The workshop took 2 years because of the difficulty of bringing people in one table. It's quite difficult to bring all these people throughout Malaysia and then to be with you throughout all this process. So we need many workshops actually. Maybe I can say, maybe 1 year to
At least 1 year.
At least 1 year. Yeah. Because if you want to come up with a very good project, very good, you need we need 1 year, so that everybody really contribute and do the research they are working.
Any more question or feedback from the participants? Prof. Kamal, do you want to say anything?
Afterwards, inshallah.
So, Prof. Fauzan, your
Yes,
mic.
Assalamualaikum. Assalamualaikum.
Salam
Can you listen to me? Yeah,
Yes.
I'm listening to
Yes,
you
yes.
while I'm driving. But I just focus to the road. Okay. I agree with brother saying that we need at least 1 year. Through my experience, we have 3 workshops, and I'm glad the term and the method almost the same. What we have gone through for last year, 2019, and exactly to come up with the proper plan, at least 1 year and at least 3 workshops. But after first workshop, we have to give a 2-3 months to digest and come back with the new ideas. So I agree. The fastest is 6 months, but I think to be realistic, this COVID-19 is of this MCO. I think 1 year is realistic. Minimum 3 workshops. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Prof. Fauzan. Have a nice journey. So please take care of your road. Okay, anybody else would like to?
Yeah, thank
Okay,
you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Anybody else would like to ask any question or give any feedback? Is the Prof. Hafiz with us? Anyway, it seems that he's not with us.
Prof. Hafiz has, I think, a meeting this morning. He told me yesterday that he will not be able to join today's session.
He did join a little bit, and now he's no longer.
Okay. Okay, Dr. Akram, if there's nobody, then I would like to know from Dr. Abdul Wahid, is it Wahid or Wahid?
Wahid.
Wahid.
Yes.
Abdul
Yeah.
Wahid. Okay.
Yeah. Wahid
all
is Wahid in Egyptian slang. They say Wahid, but in our what do you call Iraq, so they call me Wahid.
Wahid.
Abdul
Okay, طيب.
Tiga Abdul.
Okay. Now, what is your next move after this? Are you going to have another presentation, or this is it before we go into workshops, or what? What's your own plan?
The initial proposal to Dr. Nurjana, I told her I'm going to make a seminar about these future studies methodologies, and then after that I will leave to the committee for this project to decide whether they can have me for the workshop or not. So if the committee decided, then the next move will be organizing a workshop. So in that workshop, of course, practically the first one will be just educational. So let's say 1 or 2 days we are going to practice the things, the how it is done. Not necessarily is related to the project. Maybe we can bring other examples, other things, how other people have done it, and then from there we can move on. And then of course, as Prof. Fauzan mentioned just now, then we can have 3 months break, then everybody contemplate, think and observe, and also do their research how we can. And then for the next workshop, when they come, they already well prepared, because they already know what are the expectations, what are the things they need. Let's say we are talking about history, what are the things they should bring with them, because we need a reference, we need the knowledge about that. Or when we talk about backcasting, they already done their research about that. So when they come, we don't need to waste time. Straight away. When we go for backcasting, straight away people are make a presentation for their research.
Okay.
So yeah.
Um, Dr. Abdul Wahid,
Yeah, bro.
I'm not sure if you are aware that the organizing committee for this project 2077 had decided to establish 13 clusters
Okay, bro.
because based on my proposal that I was imagining that we would be having, say, we would be thinking of 13 scenarios of preferred future by 2077. So each cluster is going to develop the visioning as well as a narrative. For instance, one, let's say, Muslim unity. The past is we were disunited. So during the British, we were fragmented, and then we had independence. We became united with independence, but because of different aspirations and also the ambiguity of the provisions of the constitution, the Malays again became disintegrated, and now we are fully disintegrated. So the vision for the future is that this group must ambition Muslim unity uh, before or by 20, not that we have to be united only in 2077. We have, by 2077, we have a united Muslim ummah in Malaysia. All right. So the cluster has already been working on that. But in my envisioning, each cluster would be based upon specialization in that particular area. Let's say ICT, we appointed Prof. Fauzan to be heading ICT because we envision that ICT maybe is going forward into 4IR and maybe more, and then we might have, robotics might be a big issue with us, and AI will be a big issue. And then, of course, the younger generation may be even nihilistic by that time because they are so glued to the, I mean, their whole life is based on the social media, and therefore the values they get from the social media will perhaps marginalize whatever Islamic values they have. And so they come up with a mindset that is nihilistic. And so with that kind of anticipation in mind, we have to plan for an ICT that will have our own value system in it, and that a younger generation will be protected from all these viruses within the ICT culture or technology. So technology is going to take us beyond this world. And if you look at the transhumanists, then of course they are thinking of even prolonging human life through robots, and there might even hybrids of robots and men together. So the science fiction imagination is really fantastic. But we're not going in that direction because we are guided by the Quran and the Sunnah. Okay, so our future is given by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We don't have to create it. It's given by Allah. And Allah wants us to stick to his vision. And there's no other future than what Allah has created. So with that in mind, ICT cluster will then come out with its own narrative as to the scenario that will have to be developed. So now, Prof. Aslam, for instance, is in charge of economics. I envisage by 2077, by that time, the Muslim economy, the Islamic economy, will be mainstream economy. Today, it is still marginalized. It's knocking on the door, but the world is not opening completely to it yet. But if we are going to have more and more financial crisis in the future, then most likely the solution will be in Islamic economics. So Prof. Aslam will have to imagine 2077 a scenario where Islamic economics is fully operational. So now he has his own group working on it. Now my point is, you are talking about transdisciplinary approach. You are talking about one group of workshop working again and again, because and this workshop is made up of people from different disciplines, uh, which is a good idea. I agree with that. Of course, managing it might be a bit difficult, and I do not know if we can. I believe we need to have input. That's why I told the heads of clusters they can bring in people from other areas, but they must have enough experts in that area. In economics, Prof. Aslam is good, let's say, in Islamic economics theory, but there are so many other aspects of economics. So just economics alone, 10 people is not enough. But then you want to bring in sociologists, you want to bring in psychologists, you want to bring in historians, you want to bring in usulis, you want to bring in the fuqaha, you want to bring everybody in. That's great. Of course we may need about 2 years for that, but then how to manage? Because again, this is an ummatic project, but we are taking it as a university project, and university lecturers have their own assignments given by the university. This one is not initiated by the university. It's initiated by Kamal Hassan, but it is for the ummah, and he wants the university to take the lead. But in Islamic unity, I envisage we need to have a consortium of universities working on Islamic in Islamic unity. Similarly, other things. So I'm thinking uh, how could the heads of clusters think of making their clusters more interdisciplinary or transdisciplinary? Okay, so that is something the clusters will probably have to, the heads of clusters will have to think. Now, Dr. Akram, what I plan to do, because now this is about 12:30, people have to line up to go to the mosque. Okay, and I'm applying to enter the mosque today. I hope I can get it, but not otherwise. I will start a rebellion here. Anyway, so what I'm thinking is I'm just telling Dr. Akram and also Dr. Abdul Wahid, what I plan to do is to come out with what I call ideological framework for Vision 2077. That in that ideological framework, I am going to reword the rationale for it, why we need to plan for 2077. You know, I will reword that, and then I will say, I already have in my mind 4 alternative scenarios. I'm going to share in that ideological framework my 4 alternative scenarios. 4 alternative. Of course, there is one preferred future, one preferred scenario with its own worldview, with its own metaphor. Like for instance, one scenario is what I would call the ummah of mustakbirin, the ummah of mustakbirin. That is one scenario. The other one is ummah of mustad'afin, the ummah of people of mustad'afin. These are the timid, the weak, the oppressed, you know, lacking initiative, comfort zone, disunited, what have you. But in the Mustakbirin, the Ummah of Mustakbirin, these are the fundamentalist Muslims insisting we have to implement the Sharia whether people like it or not. We have to change the constitution. So that is one alternative future. Then you have the Mustadafin. Then there is another scenario that is sort of what I call controlled by the minorities. The Chinese and the Indians and the other non-Muslim minorities get together and strategize their politics in such a way they win the elections. And because of the Malay splits into six groups, six parties, the Malay parties, despite their numerical majority, will not be able to capture the majority seats in the future elections. So by 2077, I am foreseeing one scenario is the Indians and the Chinese controlling Malaysia. So the minority control over the majority because of the stupidity of the majority, because of the majority pursuing its own partisan politics, placing political interest above ummatic interest. That is the third scenario. The preferred scenario is Ummah al-Wasatiyin, Ummah of the rightly balanced people, balancing a dunya wal akhirah, balancing minority, majority, balancing many things in balance based on the Quran and the Sunnah, with the method, with the manhaj rahmatan lil alameen. So the vision is from the Quran. The method rahmatan lil alameen from the Quran and from the Sunnah. The Prophet ﷺ told us how to get to the future. Can we Muslims ignore the Prophet and go for just what people think through their own imagination, their own reason, and ignoring the prophetic example? So that's why I say it is for us. I see it is easier in finding in agreeing to the vision and also to the mission and also to the preferred scenario, because this is given. So there is something that you did not present in your talk, but also I did not find it in Sohail, but I found it in other literature talking about the normative scenario. They are also normative and they are descriptive. So, and some people don't want to go for the normative. In our case, we have no choice but to go for the normative, because the norm is provided by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not by us.
Yes.
We fill in the blanks. We supply the tafasil, the details. Allah gives you the framework, you know. So we have to work on the basis of a normative scenario. Things are prescribed to us in the Quran and the Sunnah. And if you go by the prophetic, hadith, which says, I leave behind two things. Taraktu fikum amrayn. Two things. One is the Kitabullah, the other is Sunnah Rasulullah. Whoever clings to it will be safe. So we are going back to that. So in other words, we will not be quarreling among ourselves as what are the what kind of future we want. But I envisage four alternatives. If we do not plan well, we might end up with the first one, Ummah al-Mustakbirin. We become the oppressors. We become the domineering group. We force others to our way. We do not respect the minorities. Okay, so that is one possibility, one probability. The other one is we allow ourselves to be dictated by others because we pursue this business as usual, creating We disagree, we create another party. Disagree, create another party. So self-centered and so concerned about party, not the ummah. So that is the ummah al-mustad'afin. We are going to be the victims of oppression by our own people and by others. And the third is also possible in Malaysia. And that is working now. For instance, the coming of 60,000 from mainland China and how many thousands from India for the last, say, 3 decades, 4 decades. And it's only just last year we realized what a big fraud has been happening in the immigration in Penang, immigration in Johor, immigration in Selangor. And who are the people who allowed these doors to be open? It's our own people, the Malays, the corrupt Malays, either the immigration or the police or the top officers. And of course, they became rich because those people who bribe them are willing to give you 10 million, 20, whatever you. Now we have those people, they came in and we don't know whether they have gone out. So all this points to a big strategy because they realize that as long as they are in the minority, if you go by majority, minority, and going by democracy, then the Malays will still be dominant. But first thing you have to do, split the Malays. And the more they're split, the better it is. And we fell for that trap. Okay? So we split ourselves. First, we split into two before independence. In 1955, there was only one Malay group. And then the one dissenting group broke away from UMNO and formed PAS in 1955. With independence, there was, the British again forged this alliance. So UMNO, MCA, MIC got together and then negotiated for independence. All right. After that, PAS became stronger and stronger. Then UMNO was afraid of PAS and tried to do many things. But then UMNO itself broke into two. Then Tengku Razali formed 1946. So you have three already groups. And Dr. Mahathir came. Then all UMNO was abolished. He created a new UMNO. So the splitting of the Malays started just after independence and particularly after 1969. And now it is splitting even further. Now, nobody is able to bring them together. But we are working, I am working with Majlis Da'wah Negara to find ways and means to bring them together. But we have to form this third group, which is not politically oriented. We do not have any partisan politics. We place the Ummah above. We hope we can strengthen this group and then bring this. So we are doing something already. Okay. So now, what I am planning is that these 4 scenarios, I will try to give the narratives and then present this to the group once again, the heads of the what we call it, the clusters, and then see how we want to proceed from there. As you said, I mean, of course, I agree with you. If you want to do a really good job, we really have to work on it. But I know that university academics, alhamdulillah, I'm not one, teaching in this anymore. So I can concentrate on several other projects, not university projects. But you have to work. You have to teach, you have to do research, you have to work for Myra, you have to work for this, you have so many things to do. You cannot be concentrating on Vision 2077. But this vision to me is very important. And I want just to start something, and then I can leave thinking that my brothers and sisters will carry on, inshallah. And I envisage there is going to be 6 phases, Dr. Abdul Wahid, 6 phases for each decade. So 2020 to 2030 is phase 1. and then phase 2, phase 3, phase 4, until you have 6 phases. Each phase could have its own team. So in other words, our team now, this 2020 team, can work up to 2030, 1 decade. Then we have to prepare for the next team, take over for the next decade, and so on. All right. So our team is just to work for 1 decade, to plan for 1 decade, but there has to be continuity. And so I like the idea of having this scenarios, all right, and then backcasting. So that's why the method of backcasting is very important for me. All right. So I think we have to do backcasting. How to do it? This is where we need more guidance from you, your reading, and so on. All right. But we have a vision already, and I am thinking of these 4 scenarios. Now, when I make my presentation, inshallah, maybe at the end of this month, inshallah, it's up to the group whether they want to accept it or they want to reject it or they want to come up with different scenarios. It's up to them. I just do my part. I make my presentation. I want the group to decide where to go on. But do not change the vision, because the vision is from the Quran. وَكَذَلِكَ جَعَلْنَاكُمْ أُمَّةً وَسَطًا لِتَكُونُوا شُهَدَاءَ عَلَى النَّاسِ وَيَكُونَ الرَّسُولُ عَلَيْكُمْ شَهِيدًا. That's the main thing. And also, كُنْتُمْ خَيْرُ أُمَّةٍ أُخْرِجَتْ لِلنَّاسِ. So wasatiyya and khairiyya constitute the vision for the ummah in Malaysia. All right. Then you have to talk about the mission, how to get there. So I hope then we can, the group can agree. Then the group will have to decide: do we dismantle the clusters, or do we reformulate the clustering? Do we undo what we have done and then make it trans discipline? Right now, it is more or less related to the kulliyas.
Yes.
So 13 clusters, in fact, embracing 13 kulliyas.
From Kamal,
Yes,
in my case, even though majority from Kuliah City, but also I have from social science and from Kuliah Economics. So in a way, and Kuliah Engineering. So in a
very
way,
good, very good.
it's already interdisciplinary.
Fine, very good, very good. But let us
Tansri,
decide this later on.
Tansri, the one I mentioned, I proposed, it's not about abolishing the clusters. The cluster is very important to remain there. But what I mean, in a workshop setting, we have 13 clusters. So meaning that we have 13 group in the workshop. So, but the group should be mixture of other cluster as well, like for example, IT cluster. So they can invite from other cluster to be present in the workshop setting. So what I mean, so in the end, of course, each cluster will do their work, will do their, what do you call, like for example, here in IRKHS, with the Prof. Shukran, we are planning to have a workshop on the Muslim unity. We already set a date for that. So we are working on that, inshallah. So the cluster will be there. But what I mean, during the workshop setting, is very good if, let's say, we already have the cluster and then we have the mixture of people inside the group during the workshop only. But when
Okay,
yeah,
okay, doctor, that's fine. But I thought let us bring this to the next meeting
yeah,
when
inshallah.
when I present, inshallah,
Okay.
my framework, ideological framework, and then let the group decide how to open up. Prof. Fauzan has done it already, alhamdulillah. Very good. But there are a few other clusters which are still stagnant. One is science and technology. I don't see anything happening there. A few other there is good governance. I see also stagnant. So we have to do something about how to revitalize the clustering so that things will work. Because it's important that, for instance, governance and politics, to me, very, very important. In fact, the future of Malaysia depends very much on the political culture and the political system. This will impact on all the other aspects of ummatic life. So, but so far, I don't see much happening in this good governance. Science and technology, that's the tool for the future. That too, I do not find anything. So that's why I thought we need to bring to the committee, inshallah. Dr. Noor, we will take up this with Prof. Hafiz, and how to resolve these problems of some, static status quo.
Sure, Prof. Inshallah.
So thank you very much, Prof, for this feedback, as well as thank you very much, Dr. Abdul Wahid. Do you want to say anything, Dr. Abdul Wahid, before we close?
No, Jazakallah khaira. Thank you very much for providing me this opportunity. I really honored, and I'm really thankful to Allah to make me part of this project. And inshallah, I will do my best, inshallah, for the success of this project. It's a very noble project. Jazakallah khaira.